Our Tuesday Topics series this winter focuses on some of the many services and resources that the library provides to our community related to critical issues and topics in the news. Our topic today is the cultural arts in Rochester, both in the community and at Central Library. Rochester offers more cultural arts than most cities its size, and even the most enthusiastic arts patrons may not be aware of some of the options that are available here. Our presenter is Carol Molt, librarian in the Arts and Literature Division and program coordinator for Central Library of Rochester and Monroe County. Following the talk, there will be an opportunity to ask Carol questions, and then she will also lead a short tour of the Arts and Literature Division for anyone who is interested. We'll be going across the street for the tour. Please join me in welcoming Carol Molt to the podium.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see so many people here. When I saw the weather this morning, I thought, well, maybe there'll be 5 or 6 people that will show up, but we are hardy Rochesterians, right? I'm really excited to be here. Thank you, Susan, for the kind introduction. This is actually really different for me because I'm usually the Susan planning the programs and introducing people, but I'm not usually the person up here actually giving the talk. So this is kind of fun and different. So I see a lot of familiar faces in the audience, which is nice. People from my book group and writing classes and Valley Manor. I go to Valley Manor to facilitate a book discussion group, so it's good to see some people from Valley Manor here as well. So welcome. Yeah, so in preparing this talk, I really reflected on my 13 years here at Central Library, and I thought about how much this library has changed in the last decade. Under the visionary guidance of our wonderful director, Patty Utaro, we have really responded to community needs and desires to offer more in the way of arts and cultural programs, exhibits, and have really enhanced our collection to include a lot of really different things than we used to include. So I'm really, really proud of that and looking forward to telling you more about what's here at the library that you might not know about. But first, I really want to tell you about some things going on in Rochester. And as long as I can coordinate my slides and my talk, I'll be doing great. So as Susan mentioned, we are in a really rich cultural arts city. I mean, we're just a mid-sized city here, but we have so much going on. We really do have more arts programs than most cities this size. I mean, I know on Friday night I'll look at city newspaper and see what's happening over the weekend, and I'll see 15 things I want to go to, and if I get to one, I'm doing great. But there's a lot happening in our town here, so we're really fortunate. As I'm sure you know, we have lots of great arts festivals here. And starting in May with the Lilac Festival, going to October with Image Out Film Festival, and of course in June we have probably what we're most famous for, which is the International Jazz Festival, which is fabulous. First Fridays, you may all know about that, but in case not, First Fridays is an opportunity for the public to get the behind-the-scenes look in art studios and art organizations. These places open their doors the first Friday of each month. Next one's coming up February 7th. So it's really, really fun. I know my favorite ones to go to are over at the Hungerford Building and Anderson Alley, because you can really hit a lot of art studios in those places. Rochester Reads, sponsored by Writers and Books. You may all know about that. It's been going on since 2001, which makes me feel really old because I totally remember that first one. It was Ernest Gaines, and A Lesson Before Dying was the very first author and book. What you may not know is that the Rochester Reads, which is a month-long literary program, used to be in March. And so we'd be kind of gearing up for that now. They switched, Writers and Books switched to October. So it's going to be this coming October, and they will be announcing the author and the book in the next month or two. So Central Library is a venue for that author, and Brown Bag Book Discussion always includes that in our discussions, so we're excited to hear about what that book is going to be. Okay. More arts in the news. So, 2020 marks the 50-year anniversary of Garth Fagan Dance, which is pretty incredible. That's really a milestone for a dance company. And as I think you all know, Garth Fagan could have moved his dance company to New York City, to any number of really large metropolitan areas. But he's kept it here in Rochester as his home base. We are super fortunate to have him here. There was a great, this has already happened, but I'm going to tell you about it. It was this last weekend, and a few of you may have attended. The RPO partnered with Garth Fagan Dance to do an incredible two-night performance at the Eastman Theater. And in looking into what was in the news, I discovered that was happening, and I sort of impulsively got tickets to the Friday night performance, and it really was just remarkable. At the very end, Jeff Tyzik was conducting the RPO, so it was a lot of popular jazz and Jelly Roll Martin and Duke Ellington, and then Garth Fagan Dance Company dancing, and he had the students, so you had the kids ranging from age 5 through 16. It was very, very moving. And at the end, Garth Fagan came out, and he and Jeff Tyzik hugged, and I don't think there was a dry eye in the audience. It was really special. But Garth Fagan, of course, will be doing more performances this year. Nazareth Art Center is really his home base here in Rochester for performances. But just so you know, they do smaller performances at his studio, which is located right here in downtown Rochester on Chestnut Street. So that's really a way to take advantage of seeing Garth Fagan dance for lower price. I know there's a Valentine's Day, it's a dinner and a duet recital that's coming up. I think it's right on Valentine's Day this year, so that could be a lot of fun. Jiva. Jiva is celebrating Mark Cuddy's 21st season as artistic director. And well, that makes me old also, because I remember meeting Mark Cuddy 25 years ago. About his sons went to school with my sons when they were really, really little. And I met Mark then, and his wife Christina. They're really lovely people. Mark has done a fabulous job. Jiva is such an excellent regional theater, and we are really fortunate to have them here in Rochester as well. Jiva is partnering right now with Writers and Books. They annually accept play submissions for their Regional Writers Showcase, and that features a selection of plays chosen to be read at Jiva on 2 nights in the springtime. So that's a pretty special event, and if any of you are playwrights or know of anybody that's a playwright, it's a great opportunity to have your play read in this wonderful theater. I believe out of that selection, they choose one that gets developed into a theatrical production. So that's happening right now, the acceptance of applications. The RPO is going to be hosting a very unique production. It's called Women's Suffrage, Past and Present. It's on January 30th, so that's coming right up. Guess that's this weekend, right? And it's a music and theatrical work setting the stories of strong Rochester women, past and present, to music. And what's really special about it also is that two of the cast members are Mayor Lovely Warren and Elaine Spall, who is, of course, the executive director of the Center for Youth and past city councilwoman. So they're going to be in this theatrical production. I'm sure you've heard about the Strong Museum of Play expansion. That's an anticipated 90,000 square foot expansion. Research has showed that the expansion will attract an additional 400,000 new guests each year. It's going to include a play-themed 1,000-car garage. That's going to be fun to see how they're going to incorporate play in a garage. And a family-friendly hotel, which I think is a really great idea. So I think we're going to be attracting a lot of out-of-towners more than we do now for the Strong Museum of Play. You may have heard of the Playwalk Corridor. The first phase was just completed. That is a downtown trail where you can play along the way. And it goes from the Strong Museum to Central Library. And some of you might have noticed that I have no sense of direction, so I cannot say which side. It's on the terrace outside of the Rundle Building across from the Dinosaur Barbecue. How's that? Whatever direction that is. Yeah. Which one? South. South. Thank you. Would have no way of being able to say that. So there's a foosball table out there, and there's a checkerboard painted onto a picnic table. So it's fun. And so there's going to be all sorts of fun stops to play between the Strong Museum and Central Library. So a great place to bring grandchildren, young kids that you know. That's just the first phase, and they'll be continuing to develop that over the next year. The library and Friends of Foundation is very much involved in that project. The George Eastman Museum, and I still have to remember to say museum, not George Eastman House. George Eastman Museum is currently closed for renovation. You may know that. They're going to reopen January 30th, and for the first half of February, they will be offering discounted rates on their admission. I think just since they're reopening and to kind of attract people back there again. So if you're interested in visiting the museum, the first 2 weeks of February is a good time to do so to save a little bit of money. And in a few minutes, I'll be telling you another way to save money on some of these major museums with our VIP pass, but I'll get back to that. So, on to my very favorite subject of all things, which is cultural arts here at the library. So, in 2019, we offered more than 200 arts programs here at the library with about 3,600 participants. And that doesn't even include all the people that walked through the door to look at the exhibits or to peruse our art collection. Those are people that were in actual programs. So I think that's really, really impressive, and we certainly expect to have that many in 2020. In addition to all these programs, we have an excellent collection of art, music, literary books, as well as a huge collection of music CDs in every possible musical genre that you can imagine. We also loan out some very unusual art-related items as well, which, again, I will get to the details of that in a few minutes. Our exhibits are now over in the most beautiful Mascioli Gallery, which is on the first floor of the Rundle Building. I don't know how many of you have had an opportunity to get over there, but it's just a lovely gallery, and it's a great way to showcase some very amazing exhibits. We will be having 7 exhibits planned this year alone. More details to follow. That was just a little bit of an overview of what we have going on here at the library. We have lots of arts and crafts programs here, and I will say that they are just wonderful, wonderful classes, especially if you just want to try something out and you don't feel very confident, but you know, you want to just come and see what it's all about. They're small classes. They generally, we have typically no more than 12 people in those classes, and they are free of charge, of course, most importantly. I will mention a few of the most popular arts classes. We have what's called Rock the Arts here. Those are classes offered by our arts librarians here at the library, and also art teachers from the community. Some examples of classes that we offer are jewelry making, print making, book making, felting, making dolls, drawing, painting, linoleum prints. We do a lot around the holidays. We have an amazing Pisanki eggs class that's offered every year, where you create those gorgeous dyed, beautiful, but I don't know if they're batik. I have not made them before, but people come out with the most gorgeous Easter eggs. And we offer a lot of like wreath making classes around the holidays. So those are super, super fun classes. They're very social and comfortable to be in. So great for people that are beginners. We partner with So Green Rochester. That's a local business that specializes in fabrics and yarn, and they teach a lot of classes in sewing, knitting, crocheting. So they actually come here to the library and teach classes, introductory classes in those subjects I just mentioned. They're wonderful, wonderful teachers, and they do just a great job here. And again, those are small classes, and so you really get hands-on instruction. Craft It Forward is a really unique community-minded craft program that we offer. We bring crafters together to make a product to donate to a local charity. So in the past, we've had participants hand knit hats for Wilmot cancer patients. They've made fleece beds for animals at Lollipop Farm, and lots of other craft products that they do donate. So that's a program that we're really proud of here. Artist at Work program brings in local artists to demonstrate and exhibit their work. So they come typically for about 3 hours. They work over in Harold Hacker Hall, first floor in the other building, and they do their art, and you can interact with them and ask them questions. And then they typically exhibit some of their work over in the arts division for a couple of months as well. Those go on, I think there's a new one about every 2 or 3 months. So just to tell you what's coming up in February, just with the arts and crafts programs, we have a Learn to Sew a Quilt Block class. We have a sketchbook meetup club. We have the Learn the Art of Linoleum Cutting. And we have Artist at Work with Maya Horvath, who is a wonderful collage maker. Something to keep in mind, registration is required for these classes. They do fill up pretty quickly because they're popular and they are small. So if you're interested, just keep in mind that you do need to register in advance. And you can do that through our website, or you can give us a call and we'll get you registered. We have music and film programs here as well. One of our most popular music programs is called The Jazz Starts Here. That is offered during the Jazz Festival week in June. And we bring a Rochester-based jazz band who participates in the Jazz Festival. They are from Rochester. They come, they're right out there in the reading garden, unless it's raining. And it never rains in June around here, right? And if it's, unless it's raining, and then they're in here. But that's a great, great event. That is free. It's just really fun to sit out there in the garden on a beautiful day and hear this terrific jazz being played. The picture you're seeing there, that is Mike Kaupa, who you might have heard of. He's obviously a trumpet player. I think you can tell that from the picture. And he usually performs here every year for jazz. The Jazz Starts Here. We also have lunch hour concerts on Tuesdays during the summer. Those are also held out in the reading garden. We have a marvelous world music series, which features a weekly concert during the month of October. The library was selected this year as an Eastman to-go site. So that means the Eastman School is going to be sending over some of their musicians to perform here at the Central Library. Mary Fraser, our wonderful music librarian, teaches a monthly ukulele class and sing-along jam session. That is super low-key. She has snacks, and you can be any level, and it's very fun. So she leads that monthly. Anyone's invited. We also have ukuleles that you can borrow, and that I will tell you more about in a minute. On to the films. We've got a lot of film programs here. We have something called First Friday Films. Self-explanatory. Happens on the first Friday of each month, right here in Kate Gleason. And that could be anything. That film could be anything from a newly released film to a classic. It's sort of anything goes. And the film titles are announced in advance, so you do know what you're coming to. We have See It First matinees once a month, and that's going to be a newly released film that usually has just been at the movie theaters. We also have a short films sandwiched in at noon that also is on a monthly basis, where a selection of short films are featured. So if you're film buff or want to learn more about films, I'd really highly recommend those film programs. Those are hosted by our wonderful Reynolds Media Center here at Central Library. Just to let you know what's coming up in February, music and film-wise, we have a gospel concert coming up that will be right here in KGA. We have a ukulele, sing and strum. We also have a performance by the Wamba African Drum and Dance Band, and they will be right here in KGA. I think that's going to be really terrific. Film-wise, we are screening the film Gandhi. We have an upcoming Gandhi exhibit, and so that's in conjunction with the Gandhi exhibit. We are screening Blinded by the Light, and the film that was just at the theaters, which I didn't get a chance to see and I want to see, even though I could care less about cars, Ford versus Ferrari. I don't think you have to care about cars. It sounds like I've heard it's great. Great movie. So that's just a little summary of our music and film programs here. On to our literary arts programs. So we have got a program called Rochester Writes, and I know at least 3 people here participate in those classes. Rochester Writes is in its 4th year. I started it a few years back. My dream was to have a series of classes here that would support local writers and also to create an intimate writing community. And I feel like we've really, really done that. I can't tell you how happy it makes me when I see people coming out of those classes and they're talking to one another, they've made friendships, there's writing groups they've formed outside of the library based on the people they've met in the classes. We offer everything from memoir writing to introduction to creative writing. Right now, there's a class going on called Create Compelling Characters. We've had writing your family history, a lot of memoir, so it's really a lot across the board. Also a self-publishing, how to self-publish your book coming up before long. So we try to really have a good variety of classes. Those are also, we keep them on the small side, no more than 20 people in a class. Registration required for those in advance. Those are all held over in our Rundle Arts Room, which is in the Art Division in the Rundle Building. Poetry Oasis. That is just a fabulous small poetry discussion group. It's led by poet and teacher extraordinaire Kitty Jaspe. Kitty's just a fabulous poet, and she loves spreading her enthusiasm for poetry. It's great for people who already love poetry, but if you're somebody that says, I'd like to like poetry, but I don't really get it, but I would like to, it's a great group to go to. She's phenomenal, and it's a small group. Basically, she selects poems, a selection of poetry, maybe 4 to 6 poems each week, and the group reads it aloud because she believes, and I agree, poetry needs to really be read aloud to really appreciate it. And so the group reads it aloud, and then they talk about it. And it's a great small poetry discussion group. Brown bag book discussion, I actually started that here. I think we're going on our 11th or 12th year. That's a monthly group. I see Joyce here, who's part of that, and Cliff is part of that group. We have a great time. We read mostly contemporary fiction. Once in a while we throw in a nonfiction, but I love to read fiction, so that's what I choose. I choose the selection for the whole year. Everybody's invited. We're a very welcoming, friendly group. We have some refreshments. We meet for an hour, so we get right to it. And it's great because every book we choose, some people love it and some people don't, and that's what makes a really, really good discussion. So you're all invited to that. Book Sandwich In, of course, is hosted by the Friends and Foundation. That's been going on for more than 50 years, which I think many of you attend that. Wonderful book reviews by prominent community members. They do a series in the fall and in the spring. I mentioned the Rochester Reads program. Central Library is a venue for that. I think I may have mentioned that actually. So we have the author right here in this auditorium, which is wonderful. So that'll be happening in October. Library exhibits. We have fabulous exhibits here. As I mentioned, we have our beautiful new Mascioli Gallery in the other building on the first floor. We have a real variety of exhibits over there. If you haven't been there, please go take a look if you have time today after this talk. Right now, the Art of the Book exhibit is happening, which is one of my favorites. It's an international juried art show organized by the Central Library of Rochester. We have pieces literally from around the world, either artist books or altered books, and it's a stunning exhibit. It really is. I can't recommend it highly enough. So that's happening right now. I believe that's up for another couple of weeks, not long. So please make it over there to see that. We have all sorts of library curated exhibits. The women's suffrage exhibit that we had last year that was just phenomenal, curated by our local history division, Christine Radarski in particular. That was a great exhibit. We have traveling exhibits. We have a Gandhi exhibit that's coming up soon in February. Holocaust Museum out of DC. We have it's called Holocaust Deadly Medicine that's coming up in March. Over the summer, we're going to have the Rochester Baseball Historical Society do an exhibit, which will be a lot of fun. Local History curates smaller local history-related exhibits that are on the second floor of the Rundle building, the same floor as Local History, and those are some just wonderful exhibits as well. So we're very proud of our exhibits here and hope that you will make the time to go look at them when they're here. So while we have incredible programs and exhibits, we also have just a fabulous collection here. You know, despite the fact that the library has gone through so very many changes over the years and we offer so much more in the way of programs, we still really pride ourselves on a very, very strong, vibrant collection. We have over 50,000 art books, which I have to say I did not know that figure until I asked what it was for this talk. And I was pretty surprised that we had that many. So there are books on everything you can possibly imagine, from art history, music history, photography, biographies on musicians and artists, lots of how-to books on drawing, painting, flower arranging, knitting, crocheting, everything you can imagine. We have 24,000 music CDs in the Reynolds Media Center, which again, I was kind of blown away when I learned that that's how many we have. 2,000 music scores, 300 music instruction books. We have many, many magazines on the arts, photography, antiques, interior design, poetry, creative writing. We also have a digital literary journal, which you may not have heard of. It's called Rundlelania. That is edited by our literature librarian, Andy Coyle, and he does a really nice job with that. He just invites entries from anybody, and he selects poetry, essays, short stories that he features in the digital literary journal. Photography, thank you. There's photography. Do you have a piece? Or you've just seen it?
I had a couple pieces accepted, and then he printed one.
Yeah, he does. Every once in a while, he does a print journal as well. So that's a wonderful resource here at the library. So, unique items to borrow. We have a lot of stuff here you might not know about. We have framed prints. You can borrow up to 4 some of, I say framed, we call them framed prints, but there's also like canvases, that stretched canvases that aren't framed per se. And it's not just stuff from 20 years ago. We have a budget to buy prints. We still have that budget, so every year we're getting new ones. I know I have 2 or 3 up in my office right now because it's just really fun to get new artwork and to put it up there and to keep rotating. It's a great resource for someone that's moved into a new apartment for the first time perhaps, doesn't have a big budget to buy stuff, and they can come and check out up to 4 pieces for 8 weeks and hang it on your walls, come back and get some new stuff. So I think we have some really great, a great collection of that. Those are of course over in the art division. We loan out ukuleles. I believe we have, sure it's 6 or 8 ukuleles, and you can borrow a ukulele with your library card. It's a 3-week loan, just like a book. And we have all sorts of ukulele instruction books that you can borrow right along with your ukulele. We have sewing machines. You can borrow a sewing machine for 3 weeks. Comes with an instruction book. And for somebody who doesn't own a machine, maybe wants to try it out and see if they want to buy one, or they just want to borrow ours, it's a great resource. We have a flower press for loan. We have craft kits. We have what's called an art cart. The art cart is kind of like a little free library. You can bring art and you can take art. So you can imagine the broad range of what gets left on the art cart. There's all sorts of stuff, but it's really fun, and sometimes people leave some really good things there. We have a drop-in activity center over in the art division. It is made out of an old card catalog, and you open up the drawers, and there are coloring pages in there. So as you probably know, coloring's become really popular among adults, and so people can pull out coloring pages and go sit down somewhere or take them home and do their coloring. So we try to make use of those beautiful old card catalogs, which most of us miss. We have what's called a VIP pass here. It stands for Very Important Places. That's a pass that you can borrow at the circulation desk in this building here. You can borrow it for 1 week. There is a limited number, so I can't guarantee that when you come in to borrow there will be one available. But you can call also and say, hey, do you have a VIP pass this afternoon? I want to come by and pick it up. That will get you a discount into 9 different museums and art organizations, including Jiva, George Eastman Museum, and the RPO. The discounts are different depending on the museum. So some are, pay for 1 admission, get another 1 free. Some are 50% off. It just depends on the museum. But if you have a valid library card, you can borrow that VIP pass. And that's a really, really great way to save money, because I know the admissions can be a little pricey. Although I think most of the museums offer, like free evenings or, a time you can come where it's a discounted rate. The Empire Pass gets you, well, it wasn't specifically arts related, but I will mention it because it's a great pass. It's called the Empire Pass, and you get discounts to the state parks. Have you used it, Wendy?
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't actually used it yet. So it's pretty much the state parks in the state, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great money saver. So that's my quick summary of what's going on here. My last slide. We are here for you. We are here to serve you, and we want to know what you want. Please, 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 don't be afraid to ask for something. I really hope this talk has introduced you to some things that you never knew we had or offered. But if there's something else you'd like, please ask for it. My name and email address is there, but hopefully any librarian here in the library is quite approachable for suggestions. And we just always want to do our best to serve our public, because that's what we're here for. So don't be shy. Thank you.